Debt. It's like that mountain you never wanted to climb. But here you are. And instead of enjoying the view, you're just looking for a way to get to the top without losing your breath. But here's the good news. You don't have to climb that mountain all at once. Introducing the Snowball Method. It's not about attacking the mountain, it's about tackling it one snowball at a time. You start with your smallest debt, throw everything you've got at it, and boom, it's gone. Then you roll that payment into the next smallest debt. And before you know it, your debt is melting away like snow on a sunny day. Ready to crush your debt? Start rolling your snowball today and turn your debt mountain into a snowman. Debt. It's like a guest who overstays their welcome. It's not just a little annoying, it's stressful. But what if I told you there's a way to make it less terrifying? Here's the thing about debt. You can't solve it by pretending it doesn't exist. First things first. You need to list all your debts. I know, writing them down sounds like the most depressing homework assignment ever. But stick with me here. The first step to conquering debt is knowing exactly what you're up against. Start by writing down every single debt you owe, from credit cards to student loans to that unpaid dentist bill you keep forgetting about. Make sure you include 3 key details for each debt: the name of the debt, how much you owe, and the interest rate. You'll want to know which debts are costing you the most. Why do this? Well, it helps you get clear on the bigger picture, plus, it makes the next steps easier. And when you see it all laid out, you might realize it's not as bad as it feels. Kind of like opening a closet and realizing it's just clothes and not a scary monster. We've all been there, right? But here's the deal. Don't panic. Take a step back, and you'll be surprised how many people feel better just by seeing everything in one place. The next step is to organize these debts in order of balance. Put your smallest debts at the top and the bigger ones at the bottom. Some people like to start with the highest interest debts, but with the Snowball Method, we're going to start with the smallest. Trust me, this is where the magic happens. Why smallest first? Because that's where you can build momentum. The quicker you pay off one debt, the more motivated you'll be to keep going. It's like winning a mini battle in the war on debt. And if you've ever needed a win, it's now. Here's a tip. If you've got more than one small debt, you can also group them by priority. If you're wondering which debt to tackle first, think about the one that feels the most achievable. Maybe it's that little credit card balance that's been hanging around for too long. Once you've got your list, the next step is to start tackling the smallest debt first. But before we dive into that, drop a comment below and let me know, what's the debt that's been bugging you the most? It's always easier to face when you talk about it, and that's the magic of listing your debts. Suddenly they don't seem like this giant, impossible monster. They're just things to tackle, one by one. Stay tuned, because next we're going to talk about how to crush that first little debt and gain the momentum you need. Alright, so now you've got your debts all listed out. You know what you owe and where you stand. It's time to get to work. But before you go on a debt-paying spree, there's one thing you need to remember. Minimum payments are your best friend. Wait, what? Yes, you heard that right. I know. Minimum payments can feel like you're just throwing crumbs at a lion. But trust me, you need to keep the lion fed, just enough to avoid it roaring at you. Minimum payments are the bare minimum you need to pay on each debt to keep things moving without triggering late fees or interest rate hikes. They don't make a huge dent in your total balance, but they're essential for keeping your accounts in good standing. Here's the trick. List out all the minimum payments for each of your debts. This is the amount you need to pay every month just to avoid any penalties. It's not glamorous, but it's part of the strategy. You see, even though the minimum payment is often just a small amount, it's kind of like setting up the foundation for a house. You can't skip it, or you'll be left with a bunch of unfinished projects. Here's the important part. These payments need to be made every month, no exceptions. That's right, no skipping. It's like paying your rent or your utility bill. You don't get to decide whether to pay it or not. You may notice something when you add up all your minimum payments. Usually, it's a decent chunk of change. And while it may feel like you're not making a lot of progress, trust me, this step is laying the groundwork. It's like you're building a wall with bricks, one payment at a time. Sure, it's slow, but soon enough you'll have a strong foundation. Plus, you'll avoid those pesky late fees that could cost you a lot more than just paying the minimum. And hey, as much as we all want to pay off debt overnight, that's not how it works. But here's the cool thing about the Snowball Method. You'll eventually be paying off the smallest debt first, and when you do, that minimum payment you were making, it's going to get rolled into the next debt. That's where the magic happens. You start with your smallest debt, pay the minimums on everything else, and then start throwing extra money at that first debt. Once it's gone, you take that payment and apply it to the next smallest debt. It's like a snowball rolling downhill, getting bigger and bigger, so while the minimum payments aren't exciting, they're necessary to keep your plan intact. They give you space to work toward that first win. The moment you see that first debt disappear, and when that debt is gone, you'll feel that victory. It might be small, but it's a victory. And trust me, you're going to want to celebrate every little win along the way. So tell me, what's the first debt you're planning to pay off? Drop a comment below and share your journey with us. Now that you've listed all your debts and made your minimum payments, it's time to take action. This is where the magic happens, paying extra toward the smallest debt until it's gone. But hold on, I know what you're thinking. Extra payments? Where am I going to find that extra cash? I get it. You're looking at your wallet like, extra cash? I can barely pay for my coffee. But don't worry, you don't need a ton of extra money to make a big difference. In fact, it's the little things that add up. Start small. Look around your house, your car, or your desk. Chances are you've got loose change just sitting there. All that extra change, it can help you pay down your debt. Throw that spare change into your debt snowball fund, and use it to pay extra toward your smallest debt. It's not a huge amount, but it's a start. Next, consider trimming back on a few things for a couple of weeks. Do you really need that extra takeout meal or a new pair of shoes? Maybe not. Redirect that money toward your smallest debt instead. It's all about reprioritizing. Look at your spending habits and find small adjustments. Maybe you cut out a few subscriptions or cancel that gym membership you never use. That money, it's all going toward your debt. As you put extra toward your smallest debt, you'll watch that balance shrink faster than you expected. And when it's finally gone, that's your first win. You get to scratch it off the list with a huge sense of accomplishment. This is where the snowball method works its magic. You've taken that first step, and now you've got extra cash to roll over into your next debt. And with each debt you pay off, you start to build momentum. Now take that same amount of money, the extra you were paying on your smallest debt, and apply it to your next debt. The cool thing is, as you pay off more debts, your payments get bigger without having to find extra money. You've already freed up cash from the first debt. It's like a snowball rolling down a hill. Each time you pay off a debt, you roll that payment into the next one. And before you know it, your snowball is getting bigger, and your debt is shrinking faster. And that's how you crush your debt with the snowball method. You start small, pay extra, and then let momentum take over. Every little bit helps. And when you hit that first debt, you'll feel unstoppable. So, have you started tackling your smallest debt yet? What's been the hardest part of your journey? Drop a comment below and let's talk about how you're handling the snowball method. Congratulations, you did it. You've paid off your smallest debt, and now you're feeling pretty proud. But you know what? The work's not done yet. It's time to take that momentum and move to the next debt on your list. Ready to keep the snowball rolling? The first step is to take a breath and celebrate. Seriously, you just knocked out a debt. But now it's time to go back to your list and shift your focus to the next smallest balance. Look at that next debt and say, "You're next." It's a great feeling. You've already got that extra cash from paying off your first debt, so now you're going to roll that payment into this next one. What you're doing here is simple. Instead of pocketing the money you were using to pay off your first debt, you're putting it straight into your next debt. So that $50 you were paying on your first debt, it now goes toward paying off the next one. By doing this, you're increasing the amount you're paying each month without having to find new money. Your snowball is growing, just like the one you've been dreaming of rolling downhill. It's like when you add more snow to a snowball, what was once small is now bigger and it's rolling faster. But here's the thing, you've already built the habit. Paying off debt is now second nature, and you're rolling with it. Once you pay off your second debt, you take that payment and roll it into the next. And that's the beauty of the snowball method. It's about building momentum. Slowly but surely your payments get bigger, your debts get smaller, and you start feeling like a debt-crushing machine. You're not just paying off one debt, you're turning that small payment into a big one. And before long, that debt mountain starts to look like a little pile of snow. When that second debt is paid off, it feels even better than the first one. You've made it past the hardest part, you've built momentum, and trust me, that's the key to getting through the rest of your debt. So, how do you feel about tackling the next one? The more you do this, the easier it gets. You're building a snowball that's gathering speed, and soon enough, you'll be looking at your larger debts and thinking, "I've got this." With each debt you pay off, you're getting closer to your ultimate goal, a debt-free life. So have you tackled your first debt yet? What's been your biggest win so far in the Snowball Method? Drop a comment below and let's talk about your progress. Alright, let's wrap this up. If you're wondering how to crush your debt with the Snowball Method, here's the quick takeaway. First, list all your debts, big and small, so you can see exactly what you're up against. Don't worry, it's not as scary as it seems. Next, make the minimum payments on everything, just to keep things running smoothly. Then, throw any extra cash at your smallest debt. You're about to watch that debt melt away like snow in the sun. Once that smallest debt is gone, take that payment and roll it into the next smallest debt. Keep doing this until your debts are gone, one by one. It's that simple. You're not just chipping away at debt, you're building momentum and crushing it. You're unstoppable now. One small debt at a time, and you'll soon be debt-free. So, you've learned how to crush your debt with the Snowball Method. Congratulations, you debt-slaying champion. But don't stop here. The journey to financial freedom is just getting started. If you're ready to take on your debt like a pro, drop a comment below and tell us what debt you're tackling first. Let's get that snowball rolling together. And hey, if you found this video helpful, don't keep it to yourself. Share it with your friends, because, let's face it, we could all use a little help with debt. Hit that share button like you're swiping away those bills. Oh, and while you're here, don't forget to check out our other videos. We've got plenty more tips to help you tackle debt, manage your finances, and maybe even find some extra cash lying around. Just click the video on screen to keep learning. Remember, the Snowball Method is all about small wins that lead to big results. So, start your journey now, and let's make that debt disappear, one snowball at a time.